Number 10. That's right, number 10.
You just did 20.
Pack light.
Hey guys, welcome to R&D Travel, where we like to talk about all things travel. Please like and subscribe to our channel to learn more about travel and to check out our bucket list travel destinations that we already have and look forward to having in the future. If you are needing some Caribbean sunshine and you would like to just try something a little bit different from a typical trip to the Bahamas, then you might want to try out the smallest country in the Caribbean with the country of Saint Kitts and Nevis. The country of Saint Kitts and Nevis, or the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, are two different islands separated by a 2-mile channel. The islands are located on the West Indies, and they are part of the Leeward Islands in the Lesser Antilles. St. Kitts and Nevis is situated about 1,300 miles southeast of Miami, Florida. The combined land area is 104 square miles, which is not even 1/10 the size of Rhode Island. In this video, we will tell you a little bit about the country, how to get there, where to stay, what to see, and what to eat. Finally, stay tuned to our top 10 lessons learned if you want to plan a trip to St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts and Nevis is the smallest sovereign state in the Western Hemisphere, and it is a Commonwealth realm, with King Charles III as the head of state. With its palm trees, blue-green waters, many beaches, great food, and natural wonders like volcanoes, tropical forests, St. Kitts and Nevis should be on your radar, the tropical paradise to visit the next time you need a Caribbean island getaway. On one side of St. Kitts, you have the Caribbean Sea, and on the other side you have the Atlantic Ocean. To get to St. Kitts, you can either visit it on a cruise ship like Royal Caribbean or Celebrity Cruises. In addition, American Airlines, Delta Airlines, United Airlines are all U.S.-based airlines that have flights to St. Kitts. In September, Rachel and I took a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina down to St. Kitts and Nevis to visit our son who is in graduate school on the island of St. Kitts. With our flight, we had a layover in Miami. There is generally one flight on American Airlines from the United States that originates out of Miami. When arriving in St. Kitts, it is like taking a journey back in time at the airport. When you exit the plane, you go down the steps to the tarmac where you walk over to airport customs. Now I have one major recommendation when you go to St. Kitts. That is to complete the customs declaration form online and download it to your phone before getting on the plane for St. Kitts. They do not have a paper declaration form, and you can't get in line to customs until you complete the form. They do have free wireless internet when you get to the airport, but it was a bit of a challenge to get online, and the form was even more of a challenge to complete. Between Rachel and myself, it probably took us 15 to 20 minutes to finally complete the form before getting in line to customs. Once you get in line, you have to show this form twice. So God forbid if your form disappears off the phone like it did for us when we had to show it for the second time. Once you get out of customs, it is easy to get a cab for your local accommodations. Wanting to adventure around the entire island, we rented a car from Avis, and they had a driver waiting for us to take us to the local Avis rental office. One thing to know about driving in St. Kitts and Nevis is that you drive on the left side of the road. You just have to think through each turn, intersection, and roundabout to make sure you are entering the next road on the correct side. The number one place to stay when going to St. Kitts and Nevis is the St. Kitts Marriott Resort and the Royal Beach Casino. However, there are other places to stay that had good ratings such as the Royal St. Kitts Hotel and the Koi Resort St. Kitts Curio Collection by Hilton. Since we had a couple free nights with our Hilton loyalty points, we stayed at the Koi Resorts. One of the challenges of getting to the Koi Resorts were the roads. They were a bit of an adventure with how rough a shape they were to drive on. The Koi Resort opened up in January of 2019, which was right before the COVID-19 pandemic shut everything down. One of the workers at the Koi Resort said that it didn't open back up until as late as December 2021, so everything looks new. We had an ocean view room with complimentary Wi-Fi, a spa-inspired soaking tub, and rainfall shower. At the Koi Resort, they have a Japanese and Asian fusion restaurant, which is right next to a lounge with a poolside bar and grill. The site overlooks the Atlantic Ocean. However, it is not recommended that you go swimming on the Atlantic side of St. Kitts as the riptides can be pretty strong. When you get a chance to go to St. Kitts and Nevis, there are a number of things that you can do. On the beaches of the Caribbean side of the island, you can snorkel, dive, and swim in the waters, or you can relax at the resort and have a tropical drink and just take in the views of the Caribbean Sea or Atlantic Ocean. Besides taking the laid-back approach of relaxing on the beach or playing in the water, there are several tours that you can take or historic sites that you can see. Some of the ththings that we didn't do because of the amount of time that we were on the island was taking the sugar train, playing 18 holes of golf at the Royal Saint Kitts golf course, hiking up the trail to the volcano, exploring the rainforest, or just even ziplining in the rainforest. These are all things that I look forward to trying to do on our next visit, except maybe for the golf outing with my poor golf skills. We did, however, get a lot of things done in these 3 days on the island. If you take a cruise to St. Kitts, you will come on the island at the cruise port, which looks like your typical cruise port sections of any other town, with bars, t-shirts, and jewelry stores. We actually came down thinking that we would find an easy place to have a sit-down lunch, but that wasn't the case. I finally had to go into a shop and ask them where we could find a sit-down restaurant, and they were able to help me out. But it wasn't easy to get to, and it wasn't visible, for a cruise was just coming for a day. In fact, it seemed to be a restaurant for the locals. Overall, there really wasn't much to do at this port, but I really liked the small casino. They actually packed a lot of great games into this little place. One place that you may want to visit is the Romney Mansion. You can get there by hiring either a driver or with a rental car. If you take a rental car though, be very careful when you are approaching the parking lot, as the signage is not clear, and you could be like us trying to do some four-wheel driving up the mountain after we missed the entrance. Set in approximately 8 acres, these grounds have considerable history dating back to the 1600s. Sam Jefferson II, the great-great-great-grandfather of Thomas Jefferson, our third president of the United States, purchased the property in 1625. The modest house, once named the Red House to reflect Jefferson's Quaker roots, was renamed Romney Manor by the new owner, the Earl of Romney. In 1834, contrary to the instruction of the British Parliament, Lord Romney declared his enslaved Africans free men, becoming the first estate in St. Kitts to do so. Most of the activity on the property has been growing and distilling sugarcane. The most amazing thing on the property is the magnificent salmon tree, which is the largest living organism in St. Kitts. It is over 400 years old with a 24-foot circumference, and it covers 1/2 acre. Just imagine the stories that it could tell. Another thing to do is to take a ferry over to Nevis, where you can get a driver to take you around the island. It takes about 30 minutes to ferry across the island, but you get some great views on both sides of the island, and it is just a nice ride with a good breeze. A lot of people think that island life on Nevis is more laid back and more relaxed than island life on St. Kitts, which already seems so laid back in itself. Now, Rachel and I had a little different purpose for visiting Nevis. As big Hamilton fans of the musical, we wanted to see where Alexander Hamilton was born before making his journey to America. As a side note, Hamilton was born out of wedlock on Nevis in either 1755 or 1757. His father, James Hamilton, was a Scottish trader. His mother, Rachel, was married to another man at the time, who spent her fortune and had her imprisoned for adultery. In 1765, Alexander, his brother, and mother accompanied their father, James Hamilton, to St. Croix, where he abruptly abandoned the family a year later. And 2 years later, their mother died, leaving them both as orphans. Once you get off the dock in Nevis, the Alexander Hamilton Museum and the location of his birth are just a few hundred feet down the road. There actually isn't much to the location, but a cool statue of Hamilton and a pretty good little sandwich shop. After visiting Hamilton, we took a little tour around Charlestown and then took the ferry back to St. Kitts. On our last day visiting St. Kitts, we decided to take a drive around the island. It is a beautiful drive, and it only takes about an hour to get all the way around. One of the highlights of this trip was going and visiting Brimstone Hill Fortress, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is a 17th and 18th century military fortress that was designed by British military engineers but built by enslaved Africans, and it is considered one of the best preserved military fortifications in the Americas. I must say that drive to get there was a little stressful with the sharp curves and tight spaces to get through. You most definitely need a small car to make this drive. In 1780, the fort was known as the Gibraltar of the Caribbean, as it was considered impregnable. However, the French laid siege to the fort in 1782 and the British surrendered. The islands were then returned to the British in 1783 with the Treaty of Paris. While standing on top of the fortress, you can look out over the cannon of the ramparts and see a beautiful panorama of the ocean and the 5 neighboring islands, including St. Bart's, St. Eustatius, Saba, St. Martin, and Nevis. Once you circle around the island and get back to where you started in Frigate Bay, there is a road that will take you southeast to the other side of the island. One of the cool things that you might see on this part of the drive are the monkeys that might dash across the road. During our drive from the end of the island, I think I counted 9 monkeys that we saw in the car. Saint Kitts and Nevis have over 60,000 African green monkeys that live on both islands. They have inhabited these islands for over 300 years. The other interesting sight to see on St. Kitts is the Timothy Hill Overlook, where you can get some stunning pictures of the island all around you. We went up to this spot a couple of times and we got 2 different spectacular views. There are some very good restaurants on the island of St. Kitts. Fresh seafood is always available on both islands, with king spear and snapper as the most popular. The spiny lobster is also a special delicacy. However, the national dish is stewed saltfish served with spicy plantains and coconut dumplings. Just like several other Caribbean islands, jerk chicken is also a specialty of St. Kitts. We used TripAdvisor as our guide to where to go to dinner at night. At the time of our trip, the #1 restaurant was an Indian restaurant called Tiranga. I failed to record anything here, but the food was very high quality Indian fare. It didn't really stand out though as something you couldn't get in the States, but it was very good. I probably considered it my 4th favorite restaurant for dinner. The #3 restaurant on this trip would be Carambella Beach Club. The food was very good. Rachel and Philip started off with a sautéed escargot. Rachel had the snapper, and Phillips had the special mahi-mahi, which were both very good. I had the grilled herb marinated grouper. It was absolutely delicious and probably the best entree of all of ours. The location of Carambella was perfect with the ocean views and open air feel to the place. But that was also a drawback, as we were surrounded by mosquitoes the entire meal. I don't know if it was where we were sitting, which was close to the window, or what, but it was a little frustrating to enjoy our food while you were also the main dish of the mosquitoes. The #2 restaurant for me would be Kathy's Ocean View Bar and Grill. It is located on the strip on Frigate Bay, which is the home to a row of rustic beach shacks and bars, serving up the local Carib beer and rum cocktails. Other places on the strip included names like Shiggity Shack and Boozy's, but we chose Kathy's Ocean View Bar and Grill because of TripAdvisor, and our son had already had a good meal here the previous week. Of all the restaurants that we ate at, this one gives you a great feeling of hanging out with the locals. It was laid back and a little slow, but that is part of the experience with Island Time. From where you sit, you're able to see the smoke from the food being cooked, and the smell makes it all the way over to the table to tease you. Each entree was served with fresh vegetables, and the veggies change every day with what is available. The starch also changes every day or two, because everything is fresh. Rachel had the shrimp that came with rice, pasta salad, fresh veggies, and a salad with a price of about $15. I got the ribs, which were fantastic, for about the same price. But our son decided to order the most expensive item on the menu, which was the spiny lobster at $50. But listen, it was totally worth every dollar. It was a massive serving size. Lobster was also grilled and basted in butter. It was so delicious. I really think that the lobster could be shared by 2 people, and it will be the dish that I get the next time I go there. However, the #1 restaurant had to be Marshall's. It is actually located in a subdivision near Frigate Bay. As you walk in, you have this indoor pool and bar that is pretty cool. The dining area is spacious and the open windows look over the Caribbean Sea with absolutely beautiful views. Marshall's is consistently at the top of almost every review, and we knew going into the restaurant that it would be our priciest meal, but it was well worth it. Rachel and Phillips again started off with escargot and they both enjoyed it. Phillips tends to try different dishes that he has never had before, and this time he ordered the rabbit. We all tried it and it was extremely good. I was going to order some seafood, but I ordered the grilled ribeye with peppercorn sauce, which is one of my favorite meals. The dish lived up to my hopes of what I wanted it to taste like. The entire meal and ambiance was fabulous. I couldn't afford this meal every week, but it was a night of celebration for us, and it was the right call. At Saint Kitts and Nevis, the tip will be on your bill, and any other additional tip is discretionary and should reflect the service that you have received. Speaking of money, the Eastern Caribbean dollar is the official currency at approximately $2.70 Eastern Caribbean dollar to $1 US. However, US dollars are widely accepted across the country.
These are our 10 lessons learned visiting St. Kitts and Nevis. #1, do your paperwork before you go.
What he's talking about is your permission, your paperwork to get on the island of St. Kitts. It's all online at the government website. You have to do this government paperwork to get into the country. It's all online. Do it beforehand. If you don't, you'll be stuck in a trailer for an hour and a half trying to complete this paperwork online with no cell phone signal. It's miserable. Don't do that to yourself. Go online first and save it.
Number 2.
Be sure to bring the poopery.
Number 2, if you go to the Carambella Beach Club, be sure to put some bug spray on before you go.
So what he's talking about is this restaurant at the Carambola Beach Club is so good. And it's beautiful. And it's open air. And it's romantic. And the food is amazing. And you enjoy the ocean breeze. But there is an abundance of mosquitoes. This was in September. Maybe it's a seasonal thing. But they are chomping away at you while you're chomping at your dinner. The waitress will offer you some bug spray. Who wants that on top of their scallops? Put the bug spray on before you get there.
Number 3.
He's learned to count on his fingers.
Number 3, be sure to have a camera, a good camera, when you go to Saint Kitts and Nevis so you don't miss all the monkeys.
If you drive around the periphery of, not the periphery, the perimeter of the island, there's a whole area where there are monkeys just jumping around. You want to get pictures of them. They're pretty cute.
Number 4, you can get some great pictures at the Timothy Hill Overlook.
Beautiful pictures. There's the ocean on one side, well, the Atlantic on one side, the Caribbean on one side, and there's a lake in the middle. Beautiful. Don't miss it. Read that list, buddy. Read that list.
Number 5, it may not be Maine lobster, but it's very good.
Don't be a snob. Don't be a snob. Don't think, oh, their lobster can't be any good. Yes, it's different. No, you don't want an Arlen lobster roll, but it is freaking delicious. You have to eat it.
Number 6, do not miss Fort Brimstone Hill.
It's a World Heritage Site, and you travel down, or travel up, really, a one-way road or one-lane road that is rocky, bendy. There's chickens and pigs and all sorts of wildlife crawling all over it. But you're rewarded with this beautiful historic fort and amazing views.
Number 7, some places take the Eastern Caribbean dollar and other places take the U.S. dollar.
Most places take both. But if you go somewhere and you see the price on something, you need to know if you're paying Eastern Caribbean or U.S. dollars. Otherwise, you're going to get really concerned thinking that you're spending 28 American dollars on a hot dog.
And another thing is, if you go to ATM, they're going to give you Eastern Caribbean dollars, not U.S. dollars.
There you go. So just be ready for that.
Number 8, don't miss the ferry to Nevis. It's a great boat ride.
Nothing to be said here. It's beautiful. Do it.
Number 9, be sure to have a GPS with you when you go there because there are a lot of one-way streets and rotaries.
But your GPS, y'all, will not work because of the lack of cell phone signal sometimes. So get you your Google Maps, download your directions and everything before you leave the hotel room. You won't see signs to get anywhere. I wouldn't trust on just relying people to tell you. It's just roundabouts everywhere. Just get your directions beforehand.
And number 10, that's right, number 10.
You just did 20.
Pack light because it's the same damn temperature every day.
83 degrees. You know what it's going to be tomorrow? 83 degrees. The day after that, it's probably going to be 83 degrees. May get a little smattering of rain, but it's going to be 83 degrees. So don't bring your sweatshirt, don't bring your boots, don't bring layers, because really, you aren't going to need them.
Well, this concludes our short tour of Saint Kitts and Nevis. It might be a small country, but there is a lot to experience on these two islands, and a place you ought to think about putting on your bucket list of travel. If you're interested in going to Saint Kitts and Nevis, or any other type of travel, sign up for a free destination planning session, which can be found on our website and is listed in the show notes below. If you've been to Saint Kitts and Nevis, or thinking about going there, and you have any other recommendations, please put them down in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.
Number 2, if you go to Carambella Beach Club for dinner, be sure to put the if you go to number